Welcome to this week's Closing the Distance. I'm glad you're with us today. You know, sometimes when you're out scouting trying to find that perfect setup, sometimes that perfect setup just isn't there. So on today's show, we're going to give you tips and information to help you solve that problem. Some great footage today, some big deer. Let's get started.
Closing the Distance is brought to you by Matthews Solo Cam. Catch us if you can. Ozonics, scent control that works. Hunter Safety System, dedicated to saving hunters' lives. Executioner Broadheads, born to kill. And by Citadel, revolutionary shoot-down shape. Coming up, the guys give tips on finding that perfect tree when there's not one around. Later on, we'll take a closer look at the Citadel. Stay tuned. Closing the Distance will be right back. Closing the Distance is made possible by Carbon Express Arrows. Shoot better. Shoot Carbon Express. Christian Bow Hunters of America, exalting Christ as Creator, Savior, and Lord. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Sword Sights, sharp solutions in aiming. Elusive Wildlife Technologies, taking the elusive out of wildlife. And by the amazing Luminot. Can your arrow not do this?
Welcome back to this week's Closing the Distance. You know, when you're scouting and trying to find that perfect tree, to find that perfect setup, it's easier said than done. You have to go by your access, you have to start there, but once you find the deer sign, sometimes there's just not a place to hunt. There's not a place to hang a stand or to put a ground blind, especially in the South when you're faced with, in your timber country, you're faced with pine plantations and or big bottomland where everything looks the same. There's times where you have to find a spot and you have to make the deer come to you. That's easier said than done, but it can work. Several years ago, we were faced with that same situation. We actually went around and scouted, and we were trying to find a tree that would work, that would hide two people, a place that would elevate us so we could film and see the deer. And it took some time, but we found a spot. We found a spot that we brought the deer to us, and it's been one of our best setups of all time. Let's take a look at the tree.
Folks, we're down here in deep South Texas. If you can see, this brush country in here is real short and low. We have a hard time making a setup here unless we use a ground blind. And for those of you guys like me that like to hunt in a tree, we call this the tree. It's an elm tree, and we put some lock-ons in it, some game tamers, and in order to hold the brush, Matt took some cattle panels and tied them into the tree, and we can weave our cover into those cattle panels to help just kind of build a natural looking blind in this big elm tree. And it allows us to film deer and to shoot deer without being on the ground. And normally on the ground, you know, they're eye level with you. This gives you the elevated advantage, and it's just the type of setup that I prefer to hunt in. I just like to hunt out of a tree. And there's not many trees in South Texas, if you've been in this area, that you can hunt out of. But this happened to be one that was big enough on the bank of an old creek. This is Sutton Creek here, and we're down the Rockinell Ranch. But we love this setup.
This elm tree is actually setting on Sutton Creek, actually setting on a creek bank. And half the time the creek is dry, it's just a drainage ditch. And sometimes we can access the back of the stand by walking down the creek. But the last several years we've had so much rain and been so much water, we've had to access it from the front, but it really hasn't been a problem. And we've hunted this setup going on 7 or 8 years now, and it's been an unbelievable spot. One of the first years that we hunted this setup, I'm filming Pro Staffer Chubb Clemens. He has the Matthews, and we have an older buck coming right to us.
I did hit him a little farther back than we thought. We gave him some time. It's always good to wait a while when you hit a deer a little far back and let him lay. So we went back to camp, had supper, came back out, and it's probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock now, and the deer was dead, and that's what we were hoping for. He's probably 200 yards from the blind. Really a nice deer. A rocking L, mature buck. A lot of mass.
After the break, more tips on hunting the same stand. We'll be right back. Closing the Distance is proudly supported by Whitetails Unlimited, working for an American tradition. Real World Wildlife Seed, dare to compare. And by Fish and Still Equipment, your East Texas John Deere dealer.
Welcome back to Closing the Distance. On today's show, we're showing you footage out of the same setup. And we're at a place that we call The Tree in deep South Texas. And the second year that we hunted this setup, I had problems with the deer stands. They were squeaking, they were a little noisy, so I took the seats out of the stand and took them home and reworked them and got them ready, but I made a huge mistake and I forgot to bring them back with me. But the deer sign was unbelievable that year. There was a huge big rub and a buck, we kept working it over, and we hadn't even had time to put a trail camera out. So Doc Spike and I, we went over there with a ground blind and hit a ground blind just as much as we could hide it because there was so much deer sign there. And we crowded ourselves in a little bitty small ground blind, and a big freaky looking, ugly looking deer showed up. Doc Spike makes a great shot. It's a pretty cool hunt. Right, man, did you see that, man? That was great, man. That was some kind of old deer. He's messed up on one side. It looked like he had 5 on the other side, but he looks like he had some kind of crazy growth on that one side. He might have been injured or something, but man, all right. Man, it looked like a good shot. It looked like it might have been a heart shot, maybe. All right, man, that's good. I can say school's out for him. I'm ready to go hand him his diploma. What do you think? Looks like he might have just broke that. Man, he's a big old boy. He's an old boy. Heavy. He's got kind of a messed up G2, kind of twisted. Man, that is crazy. I believe he's done broke some stuff off. Man, look at that. It kind of looks like he broke there and there. And that is a crazy looking. It's just crazy. I've never killed anything like that. And with archery equipment, this deer's ancient. He is ancient. Oh, golly, he's heavy. That is an awesome deer. We're in South Texas, and this boy might be going on my wall. I don't know. You think Sarah let me mount that thing? No, it's fine.
I might cut that off, use it as a paddle.
It was a couple seasons later, and we're still hunting the tree, and the guys located an awesome looking deer. Big frame, big long main beams, just a gorgeous, gorgeous deer. And we was having a hard time killing him. He was always there in the setup. He was always there with a doe. He would come in and never would stand still. He would come in and work scrapes and leave. But finally one morning, everything worked out. Chubb makes a great shot, some beautiful, beautiful footage out of this setup. Let's take a look.
Congratulations, Chuck.
Man, that's awesome, isn't it? Isn't that awesome, deer?
It was a heck of a deer.
And it was an exciting hunt.
It was a nerve-wracking hunt is what it was.
Golly,
He came and left 2 or 3 times.
just wore us out. I mean, just kind of you get high and you get low and you get high again, and you could see him coming behind that doe. It's probably a good thing I couldn't see him coming until he popped out right there in front of us.
Yeah.
He
He never left. He just kind of circled. He stayed with that doe out there, and the only chance we had is with that doe to come in front of us like she did, and it worked out.
Yeah, it sure did. The good Lord sent the doe back by us, and he followed. And that's
Awesome deer.
an awesome deer.
Coming up, host Matt Moore shows us the Citadel. You'll really like this new blind. We'll be right back.
One of the biggest challenges that we face as hunters, and especially bow hunters, when we're trying to make these blind setups, is that we have to be hid. You have to be hid to get your bow pulled back. Not necessarily so much on get pulled back and be hid on the deer that you're trying to shoot, is if you're baiting in these deer, usually a lot of times there's so many other deer around you, you have to be hid for the other eyeballs. And we have done so many things over the years to help aid in that. We've drug up cattle panels and net them to trees. We've used our easy brushes. We've used duct tape and electrical tape, and we've wired brush around us, anything to help get cover. And if I've made 100 of these setups over the years, my batting average isn't too high. There may only be 8, 9, or 10 setups over the years that have really worked year in and year out. It's just that difficult to find that perfect spot to have deer come to you. And ground blinds help out so much, but the problem with ground blinds is that they're on the ground, the visibility is low. And the problem with ground blinds is it's hard, you can't leave them out year round. They're gonna break, they get weathered real easy. And I've looked at dozens of elevated bow blinds over the last couple years, and I've never really found one that I liked. But now, we've teamed up with Citadel, and Citadel has been one of the best kept secrets in the industry for a few years, and now all the bugs are worked out. Everything's ready to use a product like this that gets you elevated, gets to where you can see, and it's unbelievable how nice this stand is and how well you can shoot your weapon out of this product. Let's take a closer look at the Citadel. Right behind me is the Citadel shoot down. Let's climb up in this bow blind and show you when it's the best bow blind on the market. You're gonna love this thing. Inside here with me, Citadel CEO, Doc Hayes, and Doc is gonna help us show us how these windows work and show how this elevated blind you can shoot 360 non-stop. We've got 3D targets set up all the way around. We're just gonna show you at every angle. I've got the back door shut. He only has 3 windows currently, or 3 windows that are open, but let's go over this thing here. Doc, we've got a double swivel seat in case you wanted to hunt with a guide, in case you want to hunt with your kid or anything. There's 2 seats here that are super quiet, and they rotate, and the selling point of these seats is what I want everybody to know is these seats spin independently. And if you've ever hunted with somebody in a blind, you know that the shooter's got to be at one angle and somebody's looking through binoculars or guide and their outfit's got to be at another angle. But if the guide moves, the shooter doesn't move. It's not gonna mess up the crossbow, not gonna mess up the bow or the rifle. Everything's gonna be steady. That's a pretty cool design, the way these seats just spin independently. They're not gonna shake and rattle on each other. This blind here is what, 5 foot base, is that right, Doc?
5 foot base.
And we're at the ceiling height is 7?
7 foot.
7 foot, plenty of room to, if you had to stand up. Show us, Doc, what we're talking about with these targets. Because y'all know how when you bow hunt, sometimes that buck, he may be out there at 5 or 6 yards, and sometimes he's out there at 40. The way these windows are designed and the way they angle out, you can stand up and shoot or sit down and shoot. Let's look at this target out here. One's out there at 30 yards. Just sit down there with your bow and kind of show us at that angle. Got these bow holders in here hanging from the ceiling. It's awesome. But just sit down there and just show how that target, if you're trying to shoot that deer that's out there at 30, You probably have to shoot him sitting down, is that right?
Yes, sir.
At that
Yeah,
angle?
if he's at that distance, you've got to sit down to shoot at him. If he's closer, you stand up to shoot. But I think he's about 30. So
I'm changing windows so I can see him. So
Right.
he's out there at 30.
You got him?
And yeah, I'm fine. Go ahead. So you've got a deer there at 30, and just go around these windows here. You've got a deer here. Show us this deer here. That deer is about 10 yards, and a deer with this, he's at 10 like this. You're probably gonna have to stand up.
You're gonna have to stand up at that distance.
And what makes these seats? Doc just stood up, and these seats just got out of the way. So easy. He's standing up in this blind. He's got plenty of room to shoot.
You ready?
Yeah. Plenty of room to shoot. And we got a deer here on this side. Show how to open this window and shoot this deer here that's 5 yards away.
All right. The way this thing works is this little thing, you got a magnetic strip on it so that there's no Velcro in here. The Velcro doesn't belong in a deer stand. Where's he at?
Let me find him. I gotta open this window. We've got a deer.
There he is right there.
No, he's right here close.
Okay. That
Yeah, we got one real close. We got one that's less than 5 yards.
Now, here's the other thing about this is these windows are made to be one-handed operation so that you never have to put your bow down. So if he's right there, well, he's quartering hard. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I can hit him in the heart right there.
So that just showing how easy it is. No matter what distance, what angle a deer is out of this blind, you can wear him out. There's plenty of room to hunt and film. It's quiet, it's black inside. You've got places. He's got GoPro holders in here, which is just totally awesome if you like filming yourself. He's got cup holders in here. Another cool feature about this blind is on the outside. You can notice the paint scheme. The band around the windows, it's painted black. And the top and the bottom, it's got that olive green color. It just makes it more like it's in a shadow. You can see the shadow silhouette that it just makes. You just can't see inside. It is so cool. Take your mask off to show them. You don't even need a mask to hunt inside that. Really? You're so dark. Because I'm panned back and I'm at kind of the same angle that a deer would see. Right. It looks just solid black. And we're not even 5 yards away and it's solid black. There's no limitations. You can put this thing in the woods, in the big timber. You can put it in the middle of a crop field. You can put it anywhere. It has no limits.
You know, as hunters, we're always looking for the perfect time to go to the woods and the perfect time to hunt. We evaluate temperature and weather patterns and moon phases. We're trying to figure out what's that best opportunity for us to go to try to get successful and get an opportunity at that buck of a lifetime. You know, but the truth of the matter is, the best time to go hunting is when you can. Because we've all killed deer in phases, moon phases that you shouldn't have, in weather patterns that you shouldn't have, in the pouring rain, when it was hot. You just have to go, because you never know when that buck of a lifetime is going to walk out and when you're going to be able to be successful. But you know, I see the same thing in life with people. Sometimes people, when it comes to God, they say, you know what, I'm waiting for that perfect time that I can come to God. And if I can get all the stuff in my life that's wrong right, and if I can figure this out and clean myself up a little bit and get this right and get that right, then I'll be ready to come to God. But nothing could be further from the truth. You just have to come to God like you are. There's a scripture that says, today is the day of salvation. It means there's never going to be a better time for you to come to God than there is right now. Come like you are, give Him all that you have, and trust Him with your life. If you'd like to know more about a personal relationship with God through His Son, Jesus Christ, just go to closingthedistance.com and click on the Moment of Truth tab.